Welcome back. All right, so news of the day video for all you fine people as we get into the evening hours here on the West Coast. And some interesting stuff. First off, the Boston Bruins have waived Carson Kuhlman. Now, he's young. There's still, I don't think there's the offensive upside, but he's a good player. The one caveat I'd throw in there is that bottom six guys in Boston can really thrive. They can look really good. They end up somewhere else and it doesn't work. There are numerous examples. Riley Nash looked better in Boston than he did after he left. Tim Schaller's another one. Austin Zarnik's another one. Like, there are players that just they look good in Boston as a bottom six guy, and then they go elsewhere and it may not work. I think it says a lot about Boston's coaching. That being said, I'd be kind of surprised if Kuhlman clears. There's a team in Vancouver that I think might look at him and say, hey, that might be an upgrade in our bottom six, just as an example. There may be others that look at their bottom six and say, if we added Kuhlman, we may have to waive somebody else, but it could be an upgrade. So we'll see if he clears or not. Antoine Bibeau has been called up by Seattle. Why? Because Drieger's in protocol. So what makes this interesting is he's been called up from the ECHL. So he's being called up to play, you would have to think, backup. And it's too bad because Drieger's been good the last couple of games for Seattle. He's given them the kind of goaltending that I think they've wanted. They're still not winning games, but the goaltending, it felt like, has been better over the last couple of games. And so, yeah, we'll see how things go for however long Drieger's on the protocol list, right? Whether it's 5 days, whether it's 10, however long, and then whether or not he can come right back and play or not. Ovechkin, in today's game against Vancouver, he did score, not as much as I thought he might, but he did score a goal, so he's now tied with Draisaitl with 26 goals to lead the NHL. So Ovechkin gets older, the goal scoring does not. His goal scoring is still just as good now as it was when he was in his mid and early 20s, and it is a testament to his commitment, to his workouts, and to his basically continuing to be one of the best conditioned athletes in the sport. I still say, yeah, he's going to end up passing 99. 99 has said he has no doubt that he'll get passed by Ovechkin at some point. And yeah, 26 goals right now. He's on pace for over 50. I don't see any reason why he won't hit at least 50 this year. And it gets him that much closer, right? I think he's now 10 behind Yager for third on the all-time list. So yeah, he just keeps climbing. Good news for Penguins fans. Both Rust and Zucker are game-time decisions for tomorrow, so they're close. When Rust's in the lineup, it makes a huge difference. I'm going to say, too, tomorrow they're in Vegas. That's a really good test for them. But there were some questions with last night's power rankings. They are 8-2 in their last 10, and they have a plus 23 goal differential. Goal differential is a good way of telling who's having a good season and which teams are not. It's pretty reliable, and it's something that as recently as 4 or 5 years ago, I would have said, goal differential is not a big deal. But when I look at it over the years, it does seem to matter. And there could be a video in there. Absolutely, yes. Goal differential and how it may, maybe it's a predictor of playoff things. Maybe it's not. So there's probably a video in there somewhere, but good teams usually have a really good goal differential. And in the East, the top 8 teams are all pretty darn good. So it's kind of been interesting to watch Pittsburgh, that 10-game winning streak. It did end, but they've still been good. And tomorrow night in Vegas, I think, is a really good test for them and a pretty good test for Vegas while we're at it. So I'm looking forward to that. According to Dominic Ducharme, Josh Anderson should return to the lineup for the Montreal Canadiens for tomorrow's game. He's been out for a while. Montreal, of course, has missed a lot of players for a long time, so getting remotely healthy, anywhere near healthy, is a benefit for Montreal. Getting Anderson back should help. He had a decent start to the season, and then it's kind of gone off the rails because he's injured, and he's been out of the lineup for a while. And most of the Montreal Canadiens, in terms of goal scoring, it's not where you want it to be this year. It really feels like a throwaway season. I know there's been talk of maybe they need to rebuild or whatever. To me, it feels almost like it's just kind of a throwaway and start again next year. But we'll see what the new GM, when he's named, you have to think that's in the next few days as well, because we're down to just a few names left in the running. We'll see what that GM's message is, and whether it's one of, I think we can win as soon as next year or the year after, or if it's one of, yeah, we think that it's going to be a rebuild or a retool. And that's not something that's going to come out of his mouth at that first press conference, but you've got to think that a month or so down the road. Like Jim Rutherford, who's president, and he's trying to name a GM. He's basically made it clear that he thinks that in Vancouver the speed is an issue on the blue line, which we know. So for a Montreal GM, you got to think he's going to come in, he's going to look at the lineup and go, we have these issues, to which Montreal fans watching him every night would go, yeah, we know those issues are there. But it's always nice to hear it from somebody in charge. So you're hoping that they will do their best to address those issues. So I wanted to talk a bit about the standings and about how ridiculous everything is right now. The standings are kind of all over the place because with all of the postponements and all of the games that have been moved around and everything, it's really made the whole league right now is kind of, it's really hard to predict how the second half's going to turn out. There is no greater unknown than the fact that some teams have played so many games than others. Right now, the team that's played the most games in the NHL is Anaheim. 41 games, they have 45 points. The team that's played the least amount of games, thankfully not in their conference, is the New York Islanders, who've played 30. So they have played 11 less games than Anaheim. They have 28 points. So they're 17 points behind Anaheim, but they've got 11 games in hand. So this is where things get kind of dicey. Now, they're 18 points out of the playoffs in the East, but they have 5 games in hand on Boston. So if Boston goes into kind of a struggle, and if those games in hand are ones that are won by the New York Islanders, they're not really out of it. But again, the East, there is that big separation. It's going to be a brutal schedule from here. That's 52 more games that need to be played by the New York Islanders. And it's, again, I would throw them in with Montreal, that it's kind of a throwaway season, I would think. There definitely needs to be some changes made if they don't get things going their way over those 52 games. But I don't think they have to, toss everything out. And then the other side, which is odd, and some of this is scheduling and some of it is postponements. So for Florida, they've played 24 games at home. They're fantastic at home. They've played 14 on the road. Their road record isn't as good as their home record. And I understand at home they are dominant. They're fantastic. Their goal differential is a plus 47. But that means they're going to have some long road trips. And we don't know until those long road trips hit how any team is going to react to those long road trips. And so that's the unknown for me with Florida. On the Calgary side, it's the opposite. Their home record isn't great. They're 4-4-4 at home. They've got 12 home games. They've played 22 on the road. They're very good on the road. And at home, it's been mediocre. So this is where this year's schedule is all over the place. Obviously, with Calgary, there's been some games that have been postponed. With Florida, I'm pretty sure it's designed that way. I don't think Florida's been as affected by postponements as other teams. I don't know if their home games were postponed, if they were supposed to be closer to, an equal amount of, or road games postponed. I don't know if there was there a Canadian road trip maybe that got postponed. Anyways, so we'll see how things go, because that does mean there's going to be long road trips. There's going to be a long homestand or two for Calgary. How you handle those long road trips and long homestands, which can be equally challenging. How you handle those can decide whether or not Calgary gets into the playoffs, whether or not Florida finishes first, whether or not they get home ice in what is a very competitive Atlantic division, right? You've got Toronto's right there, Tampa's right there, and the Bruins have won 8 out of 9, and they're starting to climb as well. So the Atlantic is pretty good at the top. Those top 4 teams are all playing really, really well. Also, I heard this today, and I thought I'd put this out there too. Already, we aren't even halfway through the season yet, because the only team that's got half of its season done is Anaheim. 101 goalies have played so far in the NHL this year, which is a new record. So we've got 32 teams, so it makes sense to set a new record. It doesn't make sense to set that record before the halfway mark of the season. So yeah, there's been a lot of goalies. So when you divide that by 32, that means an average team has had more than 3 goalies start for them. There are teams that have had 5. I think the most is 6. I want to say St. Louis with 6. I know New Jersey's had a bunch. Buffalo's had 5. It's a good time to be a goalie and a bad time to be a goalie. Goalies getting injured, goalies going on the protocol list. But if you're a goaltender that's been stuck in the minors and you're looking for a break and looking to show you can play, like say, I don't know, John Gillies or Charlie Lindgren, this has been okay, because you've had a chance to show that maybe you deserve an NHL job next year. And it's shown that the NHL's got a lot of depth when it comes to goaltending. And I know by the end of the year, too, if we don't already have a record number of rookies, we're going to get there. There will be a record number of rookies in the NHL, record number of players. I would think that the yearbooks that I order, because I'm old, I like yearbooks, I would think that next year they're going to be like encyclopedias because so many players will have played. So it's going to be pages and pages and pages of guys who played 2 games, 3 games, and 4 games. And there's a lot of nights now where when I'm watching a hockey game and I'll hear a name and I go, I have no idea who that is. That almost every game right now feels like there's somebody that I hear the commentators talking about and I'm like, I don't know who that is. He's making his debut tonight. Of course he is. I've never heard of him. So there's a lot of that going on. And so we'll see just how many goaltenders end up playing before the season's done. Just give me a roundabout guess in the comment section below. You can come back to it at the end of the season, whether that's in April, May, June, 2026, whenever the season ends, and come back to it and see if you're correct or not. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.